My camera quality looks better than it looks on Hangouts.
It's not even HD quality either.
Yeah. No, I look better than I normally look. That's weird. I mean, it's good.
That's good.
Because, I mean, I didn't want to get another camera, but...
So, it looks like we're live.
Other camera, but... Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Kitty Tara's in here. Let's see if...
Oh, man.
So, look, check this out. I can make the comments show up like that.
Okay, I see that.
And let me try to respond to Kenny.
Okay, we're just doing a test run here. The new technology.
Oh yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. StreamYard is not the catchiest name, but
no, not at all.
I mean, yard, really? I don't know. Doesn't really matter, but and it's a duck with headphones for some reason. People like ducks, I guess.
So yeah, so I can select the comments here. I guess it's Mdpd. Our episodes?
Our show?
Watching 90s Total Recall. I need to set up a StreamYard. Talking to my dog.
Yeah, so far it seems pretty similar to the Google Hangouts thing with some... But I like this display better. Or at least it works pretty well for two people. So it'll work well for us because it's just two of us. So
yeah, it's pretty simple to use too. You can put some banners on here. That's the Donald Trump's McDonald's quote.
I know that he loves McDonald's. It's funny. I remember they did a thing a couple years ago when he got elected about like what his like typical McDonald's meals was, and it didn't even have fries. It was really weird. It was like two Big Macs, two fillet of fish,
wow.
and a milkshake. That was like his typical thing, and no fries at all. Which I'm thinking that's got to be such a slog just to digest all that. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say he was like the pizza. He was like a big fan of the McDonald's pizza or something.
I liked the McDonald's pizza. It's the only food of theirs that I liked.
I don't think I've ever had it. I mean, I know it's not around anymore in this country.
Yeah, not here either. It was the same thing, but they said they discontinued it because it wasn't fast enough. I didn't mind waiting for it.
You know, they have they have lobster. It's I forget the exact, Mick lobster or whatever the hell it's called. And they actually still have it in Maine. And I was asking Ork if it's real.
Yeah, we have it all the time here.
Really? Oh, man, that's so cool.
Yeah, McLobster is just a normal part of the menu.
Is it decent?
I don't think I've ever had it, but yeah, I guess it's pretty decent. It's pretty popular, but yeah, it's just always been a regular part of the menu here.
I don't know. When you just compare their other menu items, you wouldn't think it would be like up to par with how you would want to eat a lobster.
Probably not. Like, God knows, it's probably the cheapest, nastiest lobster available in the world. But at the same time, I don't know, so if it is a regional thing, I guess it still technically would be Nova Scotia lobster, which people say is the best in the world. People say Maine. No, Nova Scotia, a little further north, although it's practically the same waters. I don't know. It's funny, I have like a weird relationship with lobster. It's a weird... like my dad, it's one of the only things my dad still eats. He loves lobster,
really?
And he's very sad every time lobster season ends. I can take it or leave it is kind of how I feel about it. I don't like to think about it too much because of, they essentially are giant bugs that walk on the bottom of the sea and eat garbage. But
I know I've seen some of those mukbangs where these girls eat like huge lobster and the claws are like fucking massive, man.
Yeah, I don't like doing that at all. Like if I was. I never get it for myself, but with my parents, when there's some lobster, like I'll get my mother to just give me some of the meat separately. Like I don't want anything to do with the exoskeleton, which my dad gets into. Yeah, he'll just eat it over the sink for God's sake. He'll just go out and crack it all. And And the other thing that's annoying about lobster is, well, I think it tastes fine. It has a very powerful smell. So if you're storing lobster in your fridge, it will make everything smell like lobster, which drives me nuts.
I've seen a lot of Gordon Ramsay horrible lobster things he's found in restaurants that they actually serve to people.
Yeah. But yeah, McLobster's just always been as long as I can remember, just a normal part of the menu here.
That's so crazy. I don't know. I really need to eat more lobster. I don't get a chance to, just because I don't want to spend the money for something I may not enjoy, you know?
Right. But in sandwich form might be like the best way to do it, really. I'm not saying get a McLobster, but like, because then again, you don't have to think about cracking shells and all that stuff, because the meat is fairly good and stuff. So, I mean, I've had various lobster sandwiches that I think were okay. But it's funny. I mean, it doesn't seem crazy to me because McDonald's is like this big thing. So, but back in Cape Breton, I don't even know if there's any left now. But one of the places I like to eat when I go home is they had to change the name. But for all my life, for years, there were 3 locations. It was an ice cream place that was open in the summers called Tasty Treat. And there were 3 locations. And now there's, I think the main location is like gone. And anyway, the one I always ate at, they sold it, and now it's called Frosty's, but they kept the same menu and everything's the same. So I hope to God that it stays, because like I get to eat it like once a year maybe. It's one of the only burgers I still like. I get a burger and onion rings there. But anyway, you know, it's mainly an ice cream place. But since there were at least at one point 3 locations, you could call it a franchise. And I always thought it was odd, because I don't know how many other places in the world would have like an ice cream place where like things like a haddock platter were just normal parts of the menu. But yeah, it had quite a bit of seafood on the menu, which I just always thought, like, does that go well with ice cream? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would be okay with it. I love seafood, but yeah, it does seem like an odd for like a Tasty Treat. Is that what you said it's called? Tasty?
Yeah, it was called Tasty Treat. Now I don't think it exists anymore. So now the one that I always ate at, they changed the name to Frosty's, and it's the same menu, luckily. And I really like their burgers and stuff like that. I don't even know if I've ever actually bothered the seafood, but yeah. And they were also since it was a regional thing too, they were usually open late night. I remember like some of like my early dates, like when I was a teenager, when I had the car, would be like take the girl up to Tasty Treat around midnight or something, because they'd be open late, get an ice cream cone or something. But yeah, I always just thought that was funny, because it's an ice cream place. They have all this ice cream stuff, but then like staples of the menu are like things like a haddock platter and lobster and things like that, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, I was looking to see what the place was called in Sling Blade. I want to say it's something like that.
Oh, the place where he eats the fries?
Where he would get his French fried potatoes and mustard.
Oh, that's right. He put mustard on the fries, didn't he?
Yeah.
You knew he wasn't right in the head.
Why was it? Yeah. I know he put mustard on biscuits. I'm assuming he puts it on his fries too. French fried potatoes.
Yeah, I like fries. Oh, there's Joe Bob. Sorry, y'all.
Joe Bob.
Yeah, we're just trying to see how this works and checking out the options and stuff on it.
Just testing this thing out. What do you guys think?
I think my camera quality looks better for some reason than it did on Google Hangouts. I don't know why that would be. I'm
probably frozen right now, but I've got too many things running on my computer right now.
Well, yeah, my computer's kind of on its last legs. I've squeezed a lot out of it, because luckily it was a very powerful computer in its day. It's a MacBook Pro. So even at 7 years old, it's still pretty strong, but it's running out of memory and stuff. And I'm trying to save money for some sort of replacement. I can't get another Pro. When I got this, I just did I'd come into some money that I would not normally have, which is why I got lucky. But now I'm spoiled, because it's just like, of course, there's plenty of laptops out there, that aren't Macs, that'll cost half that much. But I'm just like, I don't want to do that, so I don't know. Just I'll try to save some money.
They're literally like twice as much as like a comparable PC.
Yeah. And I don't need Orc to tell me how stupid I am for that. It's okay, Orc, I know.
I mean,
Mac sucks, I know.
Because my daughter wants one because that's what she uses at school.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got her a PC. I'm like, no, we can't do that.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. If she gets it, she'll get hooked on it like I did. Because you just get used to the interface, you get used to everything, and you're like, I don't want to go back.
Well, I don't really have any Apple products, so I don't really know anything about them. So that's really one of my main sticking points.
Yeah, no, they're pretty simple and straightforward. And again, I get it if you're somebody like Orc. If you're a more techie person, a PC is the better way to go because you can do sort of more things with it. You can upgrade things and stuff like that. But I like sort of the straightforward nature of Macs. And the good thing is the Macs I've had, they never crash, like ever.
Speaking of Orc.
There he is. I hadn't heard from Orc in a while. I thought he was in one of his comas. You in a diabetic coma, Orc?
Man Without a Face from 93. That's who's the little fella from Terminator 3 in there? Nick Stahl?
What, really? Oh, he would have just been a kid in that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've heard of the movie, but I've never seen it. Mostly, I just know it as like a joke on The Simpsons.
Nick Stahl, Mel Gibson. It's not bad from what I remember. It's been a while. I just watched Disturbing Behavior the other day. Nick Stahl's in that.
Yeah. I'm like you. I like that movie. I know that it's not very good, but I still like it anyway.
It's just such nostalgia, man. It hits me at a time when
I was
the
in high
music.
School,
I mean, just like Katie Holmes, like I wasn't just I don't know.
Yeah, same.
And I realize it's not a great movie.
Yeah,
but it just and it didn't do well in the theater. It I think it really gained popularity on
I didn't see it. I didn't see it in theater.
I think I did. So I must have seen it like the one weekend it was showing.
It's funny. When we were talking about comics and shows before, you were talking about the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie that in the theater, and that is the only time I ever saw it. Like I will never revisit that crap.
I don't think I did.
And I mean, at the time, I barely knew about the comic. Like I knew who Alan Moore was, and I knew it was comic again. But at this point, there was a lot of reading I hadn't done, so I just went because it was a big budget action type movie. And so, I mean, I got to hate it well before I knew how bad it was compared to the comic. It was just a bad movie, period.
Yeah,
it was just so crappy.
I think I saw it first too. But if you remember, like during that time, it was like the Avengers, but not Marvel's Avengers.
I saw that in theaters, man. I've said it before a few times. That was 98. I saw like some of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life in theaters in 98. Because the same year as I saw the Avengers, I saw why can't I think of what it's called now? Lost in Space.
Yes.
Which is a horrendous
Matt
movie.
LeBlanc and Lacey Chabert.
Well, Matt LeBlanc thought he might have a movie career.
I saw it in theaters. That tells you how bad my judgment was, I guess.
It wasn't exactly my bad judgment. So what happened was, I think Ryan was there too. There was like 4 or 5 of us were going to the show. And I don't remember what we planned to see, but we planned to see something else. And then one of my other friend who also was named Ryan, he like refused to see the movie. And we were all like, this is the movie we agreed to see. And he's like, screw that. I'm not seeing that. I'm like, what are you going to see? He's like, Lost in Space. And everyone's like, okay, fine, go see Lost in Space. And then I felt sorry for him, and I said, okay, I'll see Lost in Space this year. Now, I don't remember what they saw. It probably wasn't anything amazing, but still, he's why I wound up seeing Lost in Space. It was weird, because that's not really what his personality was either. I don't know why he was suddenly so opposed to whatever movie we were going to see, where he's like, I'm not seeing that.
It's such an odd choice. What was that, like a 50s, 60s television show?
Like early 60s show. I mean, so was the Avengers.
Yeah.
Right? What a weird time.
Well, I guess it was on the heels of the Tim Burton Batman movies.
I mean, they made a Mod Squad movie in the late 90s.
Claire Danes was in there, right?
This is the only reason I saw it, because I had a big crush on her back in the day. But I didn't see it in theaters though. But oh yeah, speaking of that whole like wave of like nostalgia for like types of things, when I went to the movies the other day, I saw a preview for the new Charlie's Angels movie.
Oh my god, who's in it?
Kristen Stewart's one of them.
No, that's such bad casting.
I'm not sure who the other two are. I'm sure they're popular and well known, but I'm not very good with some of the young. Two very pretty actresses. Obviously,
I like Kristen Stewart. I just think that's not a role for her.
Yeah,
to play.
So she's one of them, and the one that like gives them their missions is Elizabeth Banks.
I can see
that. Yeah, like I don't remember who Charlie's supposed to be, but whoever Bosley is Elizabeth Banks. Elizabeth Banks is the Bosley character.
I'm not going to put that up here, or Kristen Stewart's good in her like indie hipster roles, because that's what she is. I mean, play what you know. I don't know.
It was a really long trailer too. I was like, this, like they're going to show us the whole movie. It was like 2.5 minutes probably. And what I saw was, of course, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Right.
Which, I'm not surprised that it turned out the way it did. Because, like, it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it's what happens when you're somebody like Tarantino. Like, it's him at his most self-indulgent. He's had the career he's had. He's made money. He has a lot of cachet and stuff. So they're like, okay, you make your love letter to 1969 Hollywood. Because really, that's pretty much what the movie is. Like,
I've just seen so much Tarantino bashing lately. I mean,
I don't think it's worth bashing him over it. Like, but I just think, this is kind of, like I said, this is him just being really self-indulgent. It's more about making something for himself than the audience. Which is fine in a way, because for most of the time, one of the reasons why he was such a good filmmaker was like, when he came in with Pulp Fiction and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He was always doing homages to stuff, that's the way he is. But he also knew what audiences like too. This is not necessarily that. This is him just saying, okay, forget the audience. It's all me this time. Is kind of what it is. But, there's still certain people that are going to really eat that up. Like, they're really just going to enjoy, like, long scenes of Brad Pitt just driving around Hollywood listening to authentic radio broadcasts. Like, it's actual radio broadcasts, like, from that year. And there's a funny one they have run over the end credits that I won't give away. Not that it's a big deal or anything like that. But, like, we get it, Tarantino. The 60s and 70s were awesome. Nothing will ever be better than that.
I mean, he's always kind of made movies for himself, though, right? Like, look at Death Proof.
He's really gone off the rails with, like,
huge,
probably a big budget, lots of stars, and it's a 2-hour, 45-minute movie. Death Proof is like a little thing compared to this. This is huge, right? Anyway,
he is getting a little. I don't know what the term would be, but his films are too long. They're getting a little, I don't know, like overbearing. I felt that way about Hateful Eight a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in some of the other ones, like, I understood it. In this one, no, it's all like window dressing. There's just so many shots and stuff you could cut. Again, like, there's multiple scenes that are at least 3 or 4 minutes long of simply Brad Pitt driving around listening to the radio. I'm not making that up. I'm not exaggerating. That actually is in the movie.
Yeah.
So for a movie that's 2 hours and 45 minutes, like, very little actually happens in it. And I'm not just one of those people that only counts the action at the end. I mean, there's other stuff before that, but even there was very little actually happening. I mean, he did a good job on the casting of, like, these, like, the people that were playing real people. Like, the Sharon Tate was good. The Bruce Lee was good. They were pretty good at, like, representing the actual people.
Yeah, it was Margot Robbie was Sharon Tate, right?
Yeah. I heard before I saw the movie, people were complaining that her role wasn't big enough in the movie. It's fine. Like, she's all over the movie. What are you talking about? Like,
they were saying it was sexist, right? One way or another.
Maybe they spun it that way. I don't know.
It's
The only I don't think anything sexist happens in the movie. The one thing I will say that is getting a little annoying about Tarantino is his stupid fucking foot fetish. Like, god damn it! Again, we get like shots of the actress's bare feet like right up in our face. I'm getting a little tired of it. I know you like it, but that doesn't mean you have to put it in a movie. You know, you're Tarantino. I'm sure you can like have hookers come over and step on you or whatever. That should be
you know he does too. You know that's his thing.
Yeah.
They like mash like tangerines on him and stuff with their feet.
Yeah. So there's two characters, including the Sharon Tate characters, that just stick their bare feet up, which is really annoying.
It's kind of one of his director trademarks.
I'm getting quite annoyed, I have to say. I know it's not a big deal. I know it's not a big deal, but it's starting to genuinely annoy me.
If you're just starting to get annoyed by it, it's probably not going to be a problem.
Well, as I said, this is his sort of most off-the-leash movie, as far as I can tell, where he's just like, you know, he's less concerned about the audience or making a tight movie. It's just about showing all the bells and whistles and things that he likes, which, again, he always had a good mix and balance of. I'd say the balance is sort of skewed off in this movie.
Yeah, I've watched Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown again recently, and
You really like Jackie Brown.
I love those films. You know,
I don't like Jackie Brown. It does nothing for me.
I love it so much.
Again, I don't dislike it, but I feel like Robert De Niro was so wasted in that movie. Like, he's a big name, and his character could have just been anybody. I'm not going to go on.
Yeah, De Niro is really not why I like it. I think I like who's the older guy?
I don't know.
I forget. You know, the older guy that gets together with.
Yeah.
With
I mean, I give him credit for for going against the grain and like that he took like a couple like middle-aged characters and made them the focus. When usually in these movies it's all about, you know, really hot young people.
Right.
So I do kind of like the movie for that. But no, I watched it again recently, and because I never liked it years ago, and I thought maybe, you know, I need to see it with fresh eyes. But no, I still don't like it. Like, again, I don't dislike it. The only movie he made that I dislike is Reservoir Dogs.
I'm not the biggest fan of Reservoir Dogs either. People love that film, but it's not my favorite.
It's become really dated, which is not his fault. I mean, but
I need to go revisit Death Proof, because that's one I really hated, and I haven't given it another shot.
Well, I didn't mind Death Proof because I saw it the way it was supposed to be seen. I saw it as part of the double bill.
Yeah.
So it felt, you know, because again, I didn't really think of it as a standalone movie, although obviously it can be. I just thought of it as like, okay, here's a Tarantino, a couple things, and Robert Rodriguez, and then all the fake previews in between and stuff. So, I mean, I just took everything in together. And Death Proof definitely wasn't as good as the other stuff, but it didn't bother me at the time. But yeah, it doesn't seem like something I would want to put on. You know, let's put on Death Proof.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another thing. Like, he's uncredited, but clearly Kurt Russell, I know his voice when I hear it. Kurt Russell does some narration in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but what's really weird is, like, he only does maybe 2 lines in, like, the whole, like, first 2 hours and some. So you think, okay, there's not really going to be much narration. It's just him saying a thing here and there. But then there's, like, a time jump, and then, which is, like, the whole, like, last fourth of the movie where, you know, stuff really happens, and then he's constantly narrating. And I felt really uneven. Because you go, like, over an hour and a half without hearing him at all. Then suddenly, like, he's narrating this, he's saying this, and it just all seems clunky. But, still, there were cool things in the movie, obviously. And I am a big fan of that era and stuff. It's funny, I just by chance happened to watch, I'd seen it before, it was on Chapter 27, the movie about, Mark David Chapman murdering John Lennon. And it's funny how things in real life, like, line up. Because it is true that, like, when John Lennon died, he was living in the Dakota in New York City, which is the same building that they shot the film Rosemary's Baby in. Rosemary's Baby was directed by Roman Polanski.
Mm-hmm. Roman
Polanski's wife and some of her friends were murdered by Charles Manson's gang, which of course is which is addressed in the other movie. And part of the reason was because as part of his craziness, Charles Manson thought that the Beatles song "Helter Skelter" was talking about an apocalyptic race war, and he was trying to get it started and stuff. So isn't it weird how it all winds together?
Was that a documentary? Chapter 27?
No, that's the one with Jared Leto.
It is, okay. Yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
It's been a few years ago.
Yeah. No, I hadn't seen it for a while either. It just happened to be on tonight, and I watched it. It's pretty good. But yeah, it is funny how things like that tie together. And it's two examples, too, of, like, mentally ill or fucked up people, like, totally getting weird stuff. It's funny, like, they talk now about, like, the shootings that are happening. It's like, let's blame it on video games, whatever. You know, it's weird, because usually when stuff like that happens and like, a video game or something is the direct source, it's, like, never in the way you would think. Like, can you blame the Beatles for Charles Manson's gang murdering people because they thought because Charles Manson was convinced that Helter Skelter had something to do with a race war? Like, of course not. Like, there's all these like, it's insane. And it's the same thing with the guy who actually murdered John Lennon. Like, a lot of it came from reading The Catcher in the Rye. Is there anything in The Catcher in the Rye about murdering people? Like, no. Stuff, so.
Yeah, see, I never knew that till I read Catcher in the Rye, and I'm like, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah.
But,
I mean, it was just the bigger overall message that, you know, Holden Caulfield hated people that were phony.
Right.
And he basically thought that John Lennon was a phony. He thought, you know, John Lennon, as a Beatle, he was all about rock and roll and peace and love. But then, like, he just turned out to be another phony. He's just about fame and money and blah, blah, blah. And the other thing was he was a born-again Christian in the early 70s. Chapman, not Lennon.
Oh, Chapman.
And it made him extremely mad about some of the anti-religious stuff that John Lennon had said, including the really blown out of proportion, more popular than Jesus remark that Lennon made in '65, which got almost no reaction when he first said it. And it wasn't until months later when the American press got a hold of it. Just shows how different, like, the cultures were. Like, the British press and public did not give a shit. But 6 months went by. The story finally got picked up somewhere, ran in some magazine, and just, like, chaos erupted in the U.S. People, you know, burning the records and stuff and threatening them during their tour and all this stuff. Like, Jesus.
Well, Columbine, they blamed, Marilyn Manson or something?
Yeah, some people did, yeah.
Or Rob Zombie, I don't know, I forget. It was like whatever music I was listening to at the time.
Yeah, I thought what Marilyn Manson said at the time was really smart, too, because he was talking about, like, at the time, he said, they're talking about me because I sing some rock and roll songs. Meanwhile, the president is over there bombing Sarajevo or whatever. And he said, no, would I like to think I have more influence than the president? I'd like to think so, but clearly I don't. And I think it's, you know, it's kind of, you know, true no matter who's in. 20 years later, it's the same sort of thing, right? I would say, like, the president is somewhat more influential about these sorts of things than, you know, some rock star that sings songs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always pointing the fingers at someone. I mean, sure, I'm sure violent video games do play a part in this because, you know, you've got mentally unstable people that are, you know, living out whatever fantasies or whatever, but, you know. I don't know. It's not an easy solution.
Yeah.
Not easy.
But so many times when you found out about, like, some piece of pop culture directly inspiring somebody to do violence, it's usually some weird roundabout fucked up way, like I just described, right? Like, no sane normal person listening to Helter Skelter thinks it means you're supposed to, like, murder people, and this, you know, they make fun of that too in South Park. They do an episode where, like, they have to read Catcher in the Rye, and they're all really excited to read it because they heard that it was really controversial. Then they're just like, what the fuck is this? But, like, it brainwashes Butters, and Butters is like, I have to kill John Lennon. It's like, he's already dead, Butters.
I'd forgotten about that. Hey, so you saw Brightburn, right?
No, I still haven't seen it.
Oh, shit. Somebody watched Brightburn then. I saw it on Letterboxd.
I'd like to see it. I mean, it looks pretty by the numbers, but it's okay. I liked The Boys, though, that show on Prime. I thought it was pretty good.
Good. Yeah, I would have liked to seen it push the envelope a little bit more, but...
Maybe it will if there's going to be a second season. I don't know. I've read some of the comic now. The comic is just so nihilistic and depressing. I mean, I get it. Like, it's probably a much more realistic, like, if people with powers existed in the real world, it would be a lot more like that, which is just depressing. Like, I'd rather the more idealized thing of the Marvel and DC, where, like, people that are actually decent and heroic. But, yeah. I mean, I give the credit to the show and the comic, because they somewhat, they humanize these characters. They'll show them do something awful, but then they'll also show something that'll show, like, the tremendous pressure they're under and all this other stuff too. So I mean, I give it credit for that. But it was 8 episodes, so I watched it fairly quickly. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I think I watched it in 2 days. I watched it rather quickly. I've been watching a lot of comic book stuff lately. I watched Shazam.
Yeah, I'd like to see that too.
I liked it quite a bit. It was one of the best things I've seen come out of DC. Like,
was there anything in Shazam that suggested it was in the DC universe?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good. At least they tried for some connectivity there.
Yeah, Superman's in it.
Oh, he's actually
very, very briefly, but it doesn't show his face because obviously he was probably doing that mustache movie.
Yeah, I want to see that too.
Maybe it was Overlord. I was thinking was for some reason I was thinking.
Yeah, I watched. Yeah, I watched that. That was in Letterboxd because I watched Overlord last night.
You're kind of disappointed.
No, I didn't really have high hopes for it. I mean, it's fine. It's one of the few times where, like, yeah, I think it would have been better. Like, it reminds me so much of a video game that I think I'd just rather play a game than watch it. Type thing. I mean, it's fine. It's a perfectly fine movie that I don't have any issues with. I liked a couple of the actors. I'm not familiar really with any of the actors.
That's Kurt Russell's son, right? It's the lead guy.
I don't know.
Wyatt Russell?
I thought the lead guy was a black character.
Oh.
Well, I mean, one of the leads, I guess.
Well, the lead Aryan white dude is
yeah. I like
Wyatt Russell.
I wonder if that was the guy who was the corporal. I liked the corporal. Like, there's only like 4 of them left, and he was like the ranking officer. I liked him. He was the one with like the longish hair, and I was thinking, I thought they would all have their hair cut really short because they're World War II soldiers and it's the 40s, but whatever.
It's like
maybe they're suggesting they've been over there a long time and they can't have haircuts. I don't know. I mean, it's the type of soldier I would be. I'd be like, yeah, like, you can't have bangs on the battlefield. I'd be like, yes, I need my luscious bangs.
I was like, it's always in the goof section. I was watching the horror film called La Llorona. It came out recently, and it has a black character in there with like a fade type haircut. And they were like, in that period of time, like in the 70s, he would have had like a huge fro and like sideburns and stuff.
For sure.
And like none of the male characters had big sideburns like they should have. I'm okay with it. I'm not really going to complain.
I guess it depends on the movie. Sometimes the anachronisms really drive me nuts. In other movies, it's not really a big deal. And something like Overlord, it's more of a fun movie. And plenty of it was sort of authentic World War II stuff.
Well, I mean, normally they go to the extreme with it. Like if they're doing a period piece, like everyone's in the biggest bell bottoms you can find, and huge mustaches and afros everywhere.
Yeah. And all that stuff again was done well in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's works very well as a period piece, snapshot of the time and stuff. Which we all know that's where Tarantino wishes he could just live full time. Like that's where he just wants to be. He would have only been a kid back then.
Kenny's saying the video is starting and stopping a little bit. I don't know if he means our video or the one he's trying to start.
If it's our video, I can't tell on this end. On this end, it seems fine. Like every once in a while, I'll hear like a blip, but the video still looks normal. I don't know.
Seems to look fine. There's 3 people watching now. If you're having any problems, let us know. We're trying to see if we're going to use this as our new platform or our new way of doing the show. But please, if there's any problems, let us know.
StreamYard. It's a dumb name.
I wish it didn't show up on there either, but it's free.
Yeah. Yeah, it's no big deal.
I don't really see anything in the video itself, but I guess I can go back and watch it later.
No, I don't. That's the same. Yeah, same as me. I don't see anything. Like, if there's anything, it still runs smooth from the way I see it. A different window open. I am getting like an echo effect or something.
Really?
Well, it's not even like an echo. It's like I can hear us. Like,
oh wait, I may have been my phone. Sorry, I have both headphones in. I couldn't tell.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it's almost like there's another window open or something. So that
that may have been what it was.
Probably makes no sense.
But
oh, it's fucking hot here.
Let's see. What else have I seen? I watched most of the Swamp Thing show. I haven't finished it. I don't know if I'm going to.
Do you need that like DC streaming thing to see that?
I think so. It's I don't know. It's very like low budget. I mean, there's the look of Swamp Thing looks really good, but it's obviously on a set the entire time that they're in the water. It just, I mean, like the old, movies and show. It looks as cheap as that was.
That's weird. I thought I read that like they canceled that like halfway through production. I didn't even think they would release it to watch. So that's kind of weird.
They like canceled it after the first episode aired, I think.
Wow.
Must have gotten really bad reviews.
That's too bad. Because I mean, when Swamp Thing got good, or at least what most people think got good, was obviously when Alan Moore took over. And what was good about the Alan Moore run was like it really built up some long-term storylines. I'm just thinking, I guess we won't get to see anything long-term in this show. Like, he was really good at, like, planting seeds for stuff that would pay off way later down the line and stuff like that. Which is one of the good things about the run. But yeah, I am curious to see it. I wonder when the second season of Titans comes out. Like, I thought it was so bad, but it was also bad in a way that entertained me. Like,
was that on Netflix?
Yeah, I saw it on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
The casting is a mess. Like, and they're so violent. They just murder everybody they come in contact with. It's like, this is supposed to be the Teen Titans, and they're just, like, murdering people left and right.
Oh, I remember you talking about that, yeah. I meant to go check that out.
The violence is actually really good. Like, they have, like, a good stunt coordinator and obviously some, good fight coordinators and stuff, because some of it looks really good and slick. But, yeah, just the way they keep leaving they left, like, a trail of bodies in their wake was kind of disappointing. Again, I get it, like, but still, like, if you're going to be me. If this is Dick Grayson wouldn't be, like, this rebellious. He'd be like, I need to tell Batman, and Batman needs to come shut this shit down. But, of course, I'm not going to do that for this. But I can't decide if he's miscast or not. He's interesting. He's never the way I've ever seen Dick Grayson before, but I can't say he's bad. Interesting. But, I mean, I haven't rewatched that either, so it's been, like, I don't know how many months or almost a year since I watched it. I might rewatch it because I'm thinking the second season might be coming out soon. And again, it's weird that I'm interested and excited about it because I can't say the first season was good. It's just one of those weird things where I was just sort of too, I don't know, morbidly curious, I guess. And I haven't watched any of the Doom Patrol show, but there's a whole episode of Titans where they introduce the Doom Patrol characters.
It's oh man, the dude that Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
So I haven't heard him since like a long time ago. He was doing like children's movies.
Yeah, I read this whole big long, really sad article about him a few months ago about like the disappointments of his career and stuff like that, and what he went through. And actually, speaking of DC, one of the things that really hurt him, like personally, was like that he was up for the role of Superman and he didn't get it.
Right.
And like that was kind of devastating to him. I mean, I don't think he would have been right for it anyway, but obviously if you're an actor, it's a great role to get.
Yeah, I don't either, but I mean, you think about like after those Mummy movies came out and were so successful, like it was probably like big time leading man. He could have
he was
gotten Superman, yeah.
Because that's really what the article's about, how he went from like a big time leading man to like suddenly like almost nothing. The article was written at the time when he was on the set doing it's weird, they did another one. I just watched when I was in Sydney, I watched the movie that they had to kick Kevin Spacey off of, All the Money in the World. But apparently there's another movie or possibly mini-series version of it, and that's the one that has Brendan Fraser on it. But it's the same story. It's a thing about the Italian billionaire's grandkid getting kidnapped or whatever. It's just as well that Kevin Spacey got kicked off because he's not old enough to play the part anyway. Christopher Plummer made much more sense than Kevin Spacey.
Christopher Plummer, yeah. I heard Kevin Spacey showed up somewhere and was doing like Shakespeare in the Park recently, like last weekend.
Yeah, well, he's got to do something.
Yeah, I mean, at least he's coming out of his hiding or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if he's committed a crime and he's going to go to prison, I guess so. But if he's not, what's he supposed to do? Just never show his face in public again? I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. But again, as I said, it has nothing to do with the reasons they kicked him off. I just think that Christopher Plummer made much more sense for the role, period. It was a pretty decent movie. But yeah, I am a little interested in... I think it's a mini-series of it. And anyway, Brendan Fraser's on that. But that's where it's a really long article. I can't remember where I read it or what the context was. But then when they were interviewing him, it was while he was working on that. You know, he's much more sort of at peace with himself now. But there were but yeah, like I guess from like about 2008 to about a few years ago, he was like really depressed and mopey and stuff.
I know there's a funny gif of him where he's at some award show, maybe the Oscars, and he's like apparently, pretty intoxicated. And he like claps his hands and does something weird. He falls back in his chair. It's pretty funny.
Okay. Now I can hear you fine, but I have your video frozen.
That's probably just my my internet.
Okay. But I still hear you fine. Yes, I've heard lots of great things about Legion, and I am super interested in it because it's always in my Twitter feed because of Bill Sienkiewicz.
So the Blade is coming out, and what's the villain? Mobius?
Morbius?
Morpheus?
Morbius. Yeah.
No, a lot of people are excited about that.
Morbius is a very interesting character. He's cool because he's a vampire, but he's not a mystical vampire. He was a vampire created by science. He was a pretty cool supporting character on the 90s Spider-Man animated show, actually. He had a fairly long story arc. And he was a pretty sympathetic character. At one point he was dating Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. I'd like to watch that show again. It's been a long time.
Snowfall season 4. Wow.
I don't know that.
I've only seen season 1.
What is it? I don't know it.
It's about when, or at least the first season is when crack first picks up popularity in Los Angeles.
Oh, it's a drug thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
What else have I seen lately? I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen most of Endgame.
Endgame's good. I think it's satisfying for most people. I'm not 100% satisfied, but I understand why they did what they had to do. Although I feel like a couple things they did sort of undid some stuff that I liked from before, but we won't get into that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But as I said, I'm just hope that ends sort of like a phase, sort of a now we're moving forward with the Marvel U, and things are going to be a little different now. So I just hope that means that like they're going to move the focus to Spider-Man and make him be sort of like the main hero now.
Yeah,
I did see Far From Home, and it's fine.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear much about that one. I know it did pretty well, but I didn't really hear a lot of buzz.
It's pretty funny. It has some pretty good gags and stuff in it. It's an interesting take on the Mysterio character, and it actually shows like it ties into some earlier Marvel movies quite well, which I thought was pretty smart. I can't tell you if it was planned all along or if it's something they came up with and realized they could tie in, but they do some callbacks to some very specific moments in some of the earlier movies, which is pretty cool. I'm not going to get into it too much, but I really don't like this MJ. I don't know why in the world of movies, like, redheads are so despised. It's weird. Like, comic book writers and artists are obsessed with redheads. They're everywhere, and yet they don't exist once it's time to make a movie about them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And you've heard this spiel before, but I don't understand why everybody's embarrassed by MJ's character. Like, she can't be like an attractive redhead who's a model. Like, that's, I guess, too, I don't know, it's not empowering enough. It's whatever. And I just think it's too bad. MJ's not a bad character. She's not just like a dumb ditz, but no. So this MJ is just such a completely different MJ. She's like a indie girl, and she's like super sarcastic, and she's played by some actress that only has one name.
Okay.
Zendaya or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I wonder if she might be one of the Charlie's Angels. I'm not sure.
No, I hadn't heard of the other girls that was in that. But what was I going to say? Oh, I liked Into the Spider-Verse quite a bit.
It's a difficult movie for someone like me. On the one hand, there's a lot to like about it.
Because I've never read any of the Miles stuff before, so I really wasn't familiar with any of that, alternate universe stuff.
Yeah. Well,
I was kind of surprised.
Again, it's a completely, because it's a different universe. Like, no character, whether it's Miles or Gwen or any of them, none of them are the version from the comics either. They're all, again, just another version. Like, Miles, like, in the comics, Miles came from the Ultimate Comics, and he became Spider-Man after Peter Parker died. And I know that something like that happens in the movie, but the difference is, like, in the comic, Peter Parker would have only been about his age. Like, he was young too. I didn't like either voice for the Spider-Man. It felt so weird. It's like, I don't know. We've heard Spider-Man voiced by so many guys, and it's never seemed wrong to me, whether it was the guy from the 90s cartoon or Spectacular or in the video game that just came out. They all sound right. Like, they sounded so weird. One of them sounded like fucking Jason Lee. I couldn't get it out of my head. I was like, Jason Lee is Spider-Man.
Really?
That's what it sounded like to me.
Mulaney was the pig.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I mean, of course, it was obviously him. I'm just saying it's pretty funny.
Spider-Ham.
Oh, Spider-Ham.
Yeah. And Nick Cage was Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like Spider-Man Noir. Spoiler, she's been killed off in the second Spider-Verse event, which I think was gratuitous. I mean, the first Spider-Verse, they're already killing off so many of them, but then a bunch of them do survive. What, then they have a second one to kill even more? I felt like that was a mistake. I don't know. Miles is an okay character. I'm not going to go into it, but I just resent the way he's been forced on us in the last, 10 years or whatever. Like, stuff like when he got his own title, it says, the coolest Spider-Man ever. I'm like, what does that mean? He's cooler than the normal Spider-Man? He's better? Why?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I've been kind of opposed to comic book stuff lately, but I've watched quite a bit in the near future. But it's all been with the exception of Endgame, it's been stuff that's a little off the beaten path, more so than.
I haven't even looked up the Marvel movies. I don't even know what the next Marvel movie they say is supposed to come out is supposed to be. I assume they have it all lined up. It's okay, I don't mind a little break from them. In fact, it's the perfect time for it because we're sort of in between eras. It's like the first era ended, and we're going to move into the second era, so some time off would be fine. As for the DC movies, I don't know what to think. I've been thinking about rewatching Justice League, but I'm just like, why? It's so forgettable. Like I've already seen it twice, and I still forget most of it.
I haven't even watched it yet,
and I haven't seen Aquaman.
I haven't either.
I think Ryan said Aquaman was really dumb, or at least he thought it was.
I don't have any desire to watch it.
I guess they made it really jokey because it was like, you know, how the Marvel movies always had like, you know, some good comedy, but the DC ones were so dark. I think they felt like, okay, we need to like lighten up the tone. So they're like, we'll do it with Aquaman, apparently. And I guess Aquaman's full of like bad jokes.
I think that's the mistake they made with Suicide Squad too, because after Guardians of the Galaxy was so successful, they went back and did a bunch of reshoots.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they did.
And I mean, I think that should be a darker film. But
that was so bland too.
Its
plot was so nonsensical. Like their mission didn't even make sense. It's like that's not the type of thing you would send the Suicide Squad in for. Like you're fighting things that like bullets can kill. You know, it's not like it was. I don't know. Usually when in the comics and stuff, if the Suicide Squad was doing a mission, it was usually some sort of infiltration and retraction type thing. It wasn't this. It wasn't just go kill something. I haven't seen that since it came out either, so I don't know. Maybe I'll watch that again. But
I didn't care for it.
I mean, and you're with me on this because I know you don't like Will Smith. I mean, just from the get-go, Will Smith as Deadshot is just wrong. It's wrong. Okay, here's another preview I saw when I went to see the movie. It's a movie about Will Smith fighting a 20-year younger version of himself, a clone.
I'm guessing this is something his studio is putting out.
I would assume, but it's like he's like an assassin. He's like a really world-renowned assassin, but he's been trying to kill this guy. And then he finally sees the guy is him, but it's like a younger version of him. So once again, you know, it's the movies doing that technology, right, where they're de-aging the characters. So it's current Will Smith versus 90s Will Smith, basically. It's called Gemini Man, and they're playing it up like really serious, like it's really serious, like not jokey. Like Will Smith's not going woo ha ha, none of that. This is a deadly serious movie where he's going to fight himself.
Not something I want to see. But
no.
I want to see After Earth too.
Come on, Will. I hope his son is done with movies forever.
Yeah, he's a rap star now, apparently.
Of course he is. But I feel like this Gemini Man movie was just basically Will Smith was like, he saw the Keanu Reeves was getting really popular doing John Wick. He's like, I can do a John Wick movie. I still haven't seen John Wick 3.
It's really good.
I'm sure it is. I like the first two. I don't love them the way other people do, but I definitely like them.
I think 3 may be the best. I mean, we don't have action movies like we used to anymore, so it's nice to see something.
And I mean, that's why I want to support it.
They've really put care into it. It's really well done. Sure, it has CGI, blood, squibs and stuff, but
it doesn't necessarily ruin things for me.
No, I mean, and plus, the guy kills like 500 people or something, so we'll fix it in post.
Pretty much. But yeah.
Oh, it's directed by Ang Lee, that Gemini Man.
I know. Like I said, this is Will Smith saying, we're going to be very serious. Very, very serious. That's more serious than Ang Lee. Yeah, I'm starting to feel like watching horror again.
Me too.
because it's been a while since I watched it. I wanted to see Midsummer, but it was already taken out of my theater. It's probably at one of the big theaters, but I don't know if I want to go all the way out there for it. But I love cult stuff. That's one of my favorite genres in horror, is stuff with cults. So
I heard Pizzow say that it's really not even like a horror movie.
No, I don't know.
They say it's like Wicker Man and something else crossed together or whatever.
Yeah, it definitely has the Wicker Man vibe. It's been forever since I've seen the original Wicker Man.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the Nick Cage one a few times. It's so bad that it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's got him, screaming with bees in his eyes, and the bear suit punching out the woman. Like, I mean, it's. Oh yeah, I remember. It wasn't too long ago when we were talking about Tarantino, and I said that I thought it was kind of strange that John Travolta, everyone says that basically revived his career being in Pulp Fiction. I thought it seems kind of weird that John Travolta didn't do any more Tarantino movies, because usually Tarantino likes to reuse his actors and stuff like that. And then I thought, well, maybe they didn't get along or something. But apparently they must have or something, because when I was seeing a thing about John Woo, and when John Woo came over to do movies here, American movies, apparently it was Tarantino that told Travolta to do Broken Arrow. And apparently Travolta liked working with Woo so much that he signed on right away to do Face Off. So apparently he and Tarantino still I don't know, hung out or talked or whatever. So
yeah, that may be why he never worked with Tarantino again, just because he was so busy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, man, after Pulp Fiction, that guy did not stop.
And even though he had some huge bombs, it didn't stop him either.
Mm-mm. He got paid well. Yeah, I mean, they didn't do well, but
yeah, that was one of the reasons also why they're so notable. That movie, Lucky Numbers, he had a salary of $25 million for that, and it made nothing at the box office. And the other big bomb was Michael, and not as big a bomb, but still a financial disappointment, was Phenomenon.
Yeah.
Lord, I hate that movie.
I think I saw Michael in the theater.
Michael's pretty bad too, but it doesn't make me mad the way Phenomenon makes me mad. Phenomenon's one of those movies that wants to really seem like it's really, I don't know, magical and whimsical and stuff. It's and it's just dumb.
I want to look at what else came out around that time, because.
But yeah, for the show, we should try to do something with Travolta, because I don't think we really have.
I mean, I say I'm not the biggest fan. I love Face Off, but I don't know. I love Battlefield Earth.
Oh, of course. There's the other massive bomb.
He did Get Shorty. I always thought that was kind of similar to Pulp Fiction in a way.
Yeah, Get Shorty kind of has a Tarantino type vibe.
Let's see, after the 90s, he was doing those Look Who's Talking movies.
That's the only thing that was sustaining him.
And then,
after the 80s, he would have been completely broke if he hadn't done Look Who's Talking. That's why he was still able to have money.
All of a sudden he got Pulp Fiction, and then he's just making 5-6 movies a year. In 96 he did Broken Arrow, Phenomenon, Michael. It's 96. And 97 was Face Off, Mad City, Primary Colors.
I remember the title Primary Colors, but I don't remember anything about it.
I'll say it was the guy that did Wag the Dog.
Oh, I like that movie.
Well,
that was a nice
same director.
That was a nice sort of satire.
Yeah, another political satire, I think.
Yeah.
Then comes Swordfish.
Yeah,
after Battlefield Earth.
I mean, the only reason anybody remembers Swordfish is because it's a young Halle Berry and you get to see her topless.
Yeah. Basic. That's the one I was trying to think of. I think that has Sam Jackson.
I hate that movie. That's one of those movies that like thinks it's really clever by doing like 3 or 4 different twist endings. Where it's like you think it's over. Wait, no, it's not. Here's a twist. Like it does it like 3 or 4 times, and it's irritating as hell. I hated that movie. Like I would not rewatch that. I haven't seen it in like 15 years, but I still wouldn't watch it again. It pissed me off so much. It's a really irritating movie for me personally. But yeah, I started to slow down around 2007-ish. I mean, I don't know. I remember some of those titles, but I didn't go see any of them. Like, I didn't see the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 remake. I didn't see From Paris with Love. You know, I didn't see anything.
What about Wild Hollow? Did you like that?
I saw part of that. No, I did not like that. Fucking Tim Allen's in that.
I think Martin. There's a older black gentleman in that film. Maybe Martin.
Yeah, I think it's Steve or Martin Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Martin Lawrence, who I really can't stand.
Do a Saturday Night Fever show.
I'm really surprised there isn't like a Bad Boys 3.
Is there not?
I don't think they ever made a 3, did they?
They talked about it quite a bit. Martin Lawrence is definitely itching for it.
I'm sure he is. Somehow the demand for Big Mama's House movies stopped.
Oh wait, no. Bad Boys for Life is in post-production. Bad Boys 4 pre-production.
Holy shit! Okay, so that they're definitely happening. I mean, the Bad Boys movies are both fine. In fact, that's the only thing I can really stand Martin Lawrence in. Like, I despise him in like every other movie ever. In that movie, I can stand it. He has decent chemistry with Will Smith. I'll give it that. He and Will Smith have a decent amount of chemistry together. You know, they're no Riggs and Murtaugh, but
yeah, I like National Security. Okay, Blue Streak's pretty funny.
I saw Blue Streak with my parents. My parents have seen like 4 or 5 Martin Lawrence movies. Yeah. I have no idea why. Because I remember once they were watching Blue Streak, and I was like, "What are you watching?" And they're like, "I don't know." And once I came in, and they were watching Black Knight, for God's sake.
Yeah, I saw Black Knight too.
I've seen pieces of them. National Security, I would assume, must be kind of good because there's Steve Zahn, who's a super underrated guy. Mm-hmm. I've always said, like, after seeing that movie he did with Jack Black, I always thought it was like a crime that he and Jack Black didn't do more movies. I thought they were really great together. Saving Silverman's movie. It's not a classic or anything, but I just thought those two together was really good, and they should have done more movies together.
That's a great movie.
They could have been like Farley and Spade.
They couldn't do that movie now.
Saving Silverman?
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to get somebody. Neil Diamond's too old. You'd need somebody to replace Neil Diamond.
Well, do you remember how they were gay and Arlie Emery was gay?
Yeah.
Like that may rub some people the wrong way nowadays.
Because I remember, like, she's like, when they have her like captive and she's like playing mind fucking them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's just like, and he's like, he's just messing with your mind. He's like, no, I think she's right. I really am gay. And like the movie for the epilogue, it's like, yep, he's gay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
But yeah, I just always thought, I always like Steve Zahn a lot. He's a good dramatic actor too, actually. Yeah, I just think he's underrated sort of in all areas. Phenomenon and Michael were hits? Really? I guess they were maybe they were just critically savaged. I'm pretty sure they were critically savaged. If they were blocked.
I remember it being really popular on like video on demand and stuff. Michael especially. Let's see, where is it? Oh yeah, this movie sucks. He has wings. Come on.
The only person I want to see with wings is Christopher Walken. He's my favorite angel.
What about Paul? What's the Australian guy? Crocodile Dundee.
Paul Hogan.
Paul Hogan.
He plays an angel.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell movie is that?
Something angel. I don't know. Something with angel in the title.
Because I can think off the top of my head several actors that have played angels with the wings. Tilda Swinton's one. She played an angel in the very forgettable Constantine movie.
Oh God, yes.
Back when Keanu Reeves' career was really floundering. I don't really dislike the movie. It's just
that was definitely a trope, like in the 80s and 90s.
Angels?
Yeah.
Yeah, 90s. I'm trying to think of some other angels. Because, I mean, there's characters who play angels where they just look like people, but then I'm trying to think of the ones where, like, they have the wings and everything. More recently, Paul Bettany was one, remember? I can't remember the name of the movie, but Paul Bettany played an angel with wings.
Okay, let's see.
Speaking of which, I don't know, but speaking of angels, I've had forever on my DVR. I can't even remember the name of the title anymore, but it's the German movie that City of Angels is a terrible remake of. I always thought we could do that maybe sometime for the show. Can't remember what it's called. Wings of Desire, I think it's called.
It's right here. 87.
Yeah. Wings of Desire is a pretty good movie. Like, City of Angels is a remake in, like, the loosest terms possible. City of Angels was a pretty bad movie, but had a popular soundtrack.
See, Always.
I've still never seen that.
Richard Dreyfuss is an angel.
Is that a Spielberg movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like one of the obscure Spielberg movies. Well, that's another thing that we might be doing soon, because is 1941.
Yeah.
Because that's a rare Spielberg flop and just a very different sort of movie. And I finally have access to it, so I think that's something we're going to do in the next little while.
The Paul Hogan film was Almost an Angel from 1990.
I have to say, I'm not very up on Paul Hogan's non-Crocodile Dundee filmography.
That's pretty much it. It's pretty much Almost an Angel and the 3 Crocodile Dundee films.
No, he's in some movie where he beats up a guy in a wheelchair. I saw like a clip of it. I'm not kidding. There's like, okay, he's like at a bar, right? He's basically the same sort of character that he is in Crocodile Dundee. He's sitting in some bar, and then some guy in a wheelchair that I don't know if he's just in a wheelchair or if he just doesn't have legs. But anyway, he comes up and he's like really rude and pushing people around and stuff like that. And like Paul Hogan tells him to like fuck off or something like that. And then they literally have a fight, and Paul Hogan beats him up, and then he like thanks him for like not treating him like a cripple or something. It's so painful and terrible.
I think it's Almost an Angel.
It's that movie? That's hilarious.
That's what's coming up here. Oh, wait, there's a clip.
Yeah, I've seen the clip, and it's hilarious. Like, Paul Hogan calls him like a cunt or I don't know. He says some really mean stuff to him and then, like, beats him up. And then the guy, like, after, like, thanks him, like, you know, for not treating him like a cripple. I'm sure Paul Hogan's was really proud of that. I bet he thought he was being really progressive.
That's Casey Jones in the chair, too.
Casey Jones?
Mm-hmm. What, Elias Koteas or something like that?
Oh, I had no idea that was him. That makes me sad because I like him. I think he did something so stupid. But speaking of angels, he's in the Christopher Walken thing. You know, he's like the main guy in the first one, The Prophecy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies in the 90s. And my favorite Christopher Walken role. Not joking. It's my favorite.
That's a good movie. The first one's good.
Yeah, then they made they made horrific sequels. But yeah, I really like the first one. That's one I quote all the time and watch all the time. I watch it quite a bit. Yeah, I just love Christopher Walken in that. But yeah, Elias Koteas is the main. He's the cop in that. The cop that used to be a priest.
Can't wait to watch the clip of this guy get his ass beat in a wheelchair.
It's not even just that. It's just like the dialogue is hilarious too. He's like, you think because you're in that chair you can be a cunt or something like that? I don't know.
You're just a cripple in a chair.
It's awful.
I think that's exactly the line. I heard that a second ago. I'm not not just saying that.
Okay, what do we have coming up? Well, 1941 is one of them. I don't want to give everything away, but we're thinking we want to do Elephant soon.
Mm-hmm.
That's Gus Van Sant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we want to do that soon. That might even be next up. I think we have one or two more, but
we talked about City of God also.
Oh right, yeah. I think we're definitely gonna do City of God sometime soon too.
I'm always fine with that.
Which I'm really looking forward to because I haven't actually, as much as I love the movie, I forget a lot of it. I haven't seen it in quite a few years, so I'm looking forward to seeing it again. Like I remember like the main stuff that happens, but I forget a lot of the actual film. So those are three that are coming up in the near future. They might even be the next three. So that's more heads up than we're usually able to give people. Assuming everything works out with this format.
Yeah, so far so good. What'll
right.
probably happen is it'll just disappear and we'll have to find something new.
Wouldn't be surprised. Like, I mean, we knew for months that Google Hangouts was ending because they notified us. Like, did Google have any comment about why they were ending it? They're just like, we don't want to do it anymore.
I guess it just wasn't worthwhile for them to spend their time on it.
Using too much of their bandwidth? I don't know.
I know a lot of people that used it, though.
Yeah. Well, rest in peace, Google Hangouts. But we will carry on one way or another, I guess. As we were saying, this works out pretty well for us as a two-person show where you do a split screen here like this.
If you guys are interested in watching that clip, I'm going to put it up on Twitter.
Yeah, I like to watch it again.
Almost an Angel.
It's pretty damn funny. And I'm pretty sure the scene was written by Paul Hogan. I think he wrote the movie, too.
I'm sure. Let's hitch our wagon to this Paul Hogan. He's making money.
I know. It's so weird. Especially with hindsight. But it's not just hindsight. I mean, even when Paul Hogan was like a big star for like a couple years, like couldn't anybody tell that it was like a really fad thing? They even talk about it in that Simpsons episode when they go to Australia that like in the late 80s that like the US, like Americans had like sort of like a love affair with Australian culture. They thought it was really cool. It's like, but it wasn't going to last, of course.
He was actually married to the lady from those movies.
Yeah, I knew that.
And they did part 2 in the city. He came to the city that time.
Yeah, I saw both.
I think that one's pretty successful as well. Then, like 35 years later, they made another one.
Haven't seen that. He's got to be like 85 years old.
I only know it because they
he wasn't even young for the first one. He must have been like 45 for the first one.
He must have been one of those guys that looked old because, Yeah, that's not a knife.
It's funny. I've seen the first two, but I can't really tell them apart. The only way I can remember them is one of them's like he's in an American city, so obviously that's different.
They're making another one?
Yeah.
No, they're not. Oh man.
Speaking of, I guess not speaking of that, but a movie that I saw, like, speaking of, like, sequels having kind of a long gap. This isn't the longest gap. I never saw the first Johnny English, the Rowan Atkinson spy spoof, but when I was in Sydney, I saw the second one, and it wasn't bad. Johnny English Strikes Again or something.
Was he in it?
Yeah, with Rowan. No, just Rowan Atkinson. I wish Paul Hogan was in it.
No, right, but that's like Mr. Bean, right?
Yeah. It wasn't bad at all. Like, I was expecting it to be quite terrible. But, I mean, it wasn't great or anything, but it was certainly better than recent spy spoofs, like Spy with, what's her name?
Melissa McCarthy.
Melissa McCarthy. God, that movie sucked.
What about that movie with Sacha Baron Cohen about the brothers McMillan? Or
I saw that, yeah. It's okay.
Really? Okay.
It's not good, really, but it's okay. I would say it's worth one watch.
What is it called? The Brothers...
I can't remember. Grimsby. Brothers Grimsby.
Oh, that's a couple years ago, too. Okay.
Yeah.
I like literally heard nothing about it. I saw the trailers.
Well, I think the main reason I watched it was because I almost never watch like the late night shows. Like I don't really watch any of those, but one night a few years ago I was watching I think it was Jimmy Kimmel for some reason. I was watching Jimmy Kimmel and Sacha Baron Cohen was on to talk about the movie. And they said we're going to show you a clip now, but we can't show it on TV because so basically all it was they played the clip and we saw the audience's reaction to it and everyone was like, oh, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, actually they played like the first 30 seconds of the clip and then they had to pull away. But yeah, it's like he and his brother are out in like, I don't know, like the African savannah or something like that, and bad guys are coming after them, and they get to the edge of this cliff and they're like, how are we going to get away from these guys? And you look down, there's like this herd of elephants. He's like, I've got a plan, and then it cuts away and you can't see what it is. But that's the main reason I decided to watch the movie, to see what actually happens in that scene.
They got you.
Yeah. But no, it's as spy spoofs go, it's pretty below average or bad. I mean, spy spoofs in general, there's too many of them, right? It's like one of the most overdone things in film is the spy spoof.
Well, there's been decent ones, but
sure. I mean, the first Austin Powers was good, but we didn't we didn't need two more of them.
That Mark Strong is in that Brothers Grimsby movie. He's the
he's the serious brother. Because the thing is, like one of the brothers is like a badass spy, and the other brother is just the goofball, and you have to work together. I already forget most of it.
Well, anyway, he's the villain in Shazam.
Is that Black Adam?
I'm not sure what his name was. Yeah, you must be right.
Well, that's usually the main villain when it comes to Shazam. That's who you think of as Black Adam.
Let's see, Dr. Sylvania?
Oh, yeah, okay. Him too, yes. That's right. That's the other main
I'm not familiar with Shazam comic at all, so.
It's one of the most confusing histories there is, man.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because originally, I'm sure you know, he was Captain Marvel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was its whole thing. So, and it was first like Charlatan Comics or something. It was like two other comics before DC got it, and then when DC got it, they had the legal battle with Marvel and lost Marvel, which also spilled over into the Marvel Man thing, because Marvel Man, who nowadays was re-released under the title Miracle Man, even though Marvel owns him now, which is pretty funny. Marvel Man, when he was invented in the 50s, he was just basically a ripoff of Shazam or Captain Marvel. So it's a whole crazy legal quagmire, and but Captain Marvel or Shazam was he was the most popular superhero of the 40s. He was more popular than Batman and Superman or Captain America. And pretty formulaic. And Dr. Sylvania. So it was like the main thing was, how like they talked about like how people like that, how a lot of those golden age superheroes, they would have young sidekicks, like a Robin or Speedy or whatever. And they say, well, that's, for the kids reading it so they could like picture themselves, relate to it. Well, obviously they did one better with Shazam, because it's like, he is the kid. The kid turns into the superhero. And like, I guess kids loved that. So yeah. And they made a whole family. They made a whole Marvel family. There's Mary Marvel. There's a father and a mother. There's like a fucking dog. And then Dr. Sylvania was like one of the original comic book mad scientists. Just this little tiny bald guy. So if it was Mark Strong, that's a much different interpretation from the comics, because in the comics he's like practically a dwarf. He's really small. Yeah, you already saw Hush, I guess. Where did you see Hush? Oh, on the DC thing. I'm stupid. If you haven't.
It's I'm not quite finished with it. It's like feature length, so I've seen most of it.
Yeah, Hush is one of the best Batman storylines of the 21st century. Back when what's his name could still write. Jeff Loeb. Jeff Loeb was like one of the most amazing writers of the early 2000s, but since then, his writing has really deteriorated. And I'm sure, and I hate to say it, and I mean, maybe it's not nice to say, but I think probably the death of his son had a lot to do with it. I mean, that would change anybody, probably, right?
That's understandable.
But yeah, those early things that Jeff Loeb. I mean, Jeff Loeb wrote the Long Halloween. It's really good. Hush uses the same sort of formula as the Long Halloween, and it's like it's a big overarching plot that involves many different people that are all in on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hush is the same sort of thing. It's good though. I mean, Hush is one of the better newish Batman villains. Although it's always kind of annoying every time a character like that is kind of retconned in. Like, you got like 70 years of Batman comics, and then all of a sudden you have a storyline where it's like you find out that like he had a best friend named Tommy Elliott when he was a kid. It's like, we've never heard this before, ever. And it's like, oh yeah, he and Tommy were best friends. Duh. Yeah, but I mean, I get it. I mean, it's hard to do that kind of thing with a character that's been around forever. But it's always just a little jarring when stuff like that just gets added in. It's like, oh yeah, that's always been a part of Batman's backstory. Yeah, his best friend, Tommy Elliott. Yep.
Well, if you've got a favorite Batman villain, you're likely to see him in this movie.
Yeah,
or her.
Yeah, because that's how Jeff Loeb does these things. It's usually like a big collective effort where everybody has a little part to play. The other thing that Hush did, it didn't say it for sure, but it basically was the stepping stone to bring Jason Todd back from the dead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The way they did it was you didn't have to believe that, but then when Judd Winnick started writing Batman, he was like, good idea, and he brought him back. I don't mind. That's one of the few resurrections in comics I actually really like. Not to mention, it was after a decent amount of time had gone by. It's not like, I mean, he had been dead in real time for 14, 15 years. That's why I never really minded them resurrecting the Green Goblin, because he'd been dead for 25 years in real time. Plus, it was the only way to end the Clone Saga without it being even worse than it already was. And let's face it, that's one of the biggest debacles in comic book history is the Clone Saga. There was no way it was going to end in a satisfying way, but I thought having Norman Osborn come back from the dead and being, the guy behind it all was fairly satisfying. You're never going to get full satisfaction with that from that mess, but anyway. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Hush. But my favorite Batman animated movie is actually the one based on the storyline that followed about Jason coming back. It's called Under the Red Hood, or they just call it The Red Hood. And that's my favorite Batman animated movie ever. I love it. I love it. Even though it's different people doing the voices of the Joker and Batman that we're used to, it's not Bruce Greenwood is Batman. He's fine. Jensen Ackles does a really good job as Jason.
Really?
Yeah. And but I really liked and I thought, oh, he's perfect. But then it shows that you're stop saying that's not an actual show. What do I care? Been off for a while, but we are open to different interpretations. So I thought, yeah, that's the perfect voice. But then when they did the voice for him in the Arkham video games, they got I don't remember the name of the voice actor, but it's the same guy if you played Resident Evil 6 that was Jake Wesker, same voice, and it fit so well. It's like, yeah, kind of like a tough guy full of attitude. Nobody likes Resident Evil 6. I like it. I don't love it, but I've got a sore throat. We could have done a real show today anyway. I woke up with a sore throat. It's been mostly better, but now it's getting worse again, probably from talking.
I was looking to see who that was because I think I know the voice actor you're talking about, but
yeah, I don't know his name, but Anyway, it's a very good Red Hood Jason Todd voice too. Oh yeah, I might even just fucking buy Hush. I assume it's out on Blu-ray, because usually when these things come out, they get released on Blu-ray. What Batman animated movies do I have? I have the Red Hood. I don't have Year One yet. I have both parts of The Dark Knight Returns, although I had to buy them separately because I got them early. Nowadays, you can just buy them together, but at the time, I had to buy them separately. What's the other one? Oh, and I've got Gotham by Gaslight, which is meh, not that great.
Did you say The Killing Joke already?
I didn't buy it yet.
Oh.
That's not one I own. I've seen it, and it's pretty good, although they had to pad it out with a weird Batgirl story, and of course the whole thing that upset people like me is him and Batgirl having sex. I don't like that at all. Don't like that at all. But I mean, once they got to the actual Killing Joke stuff, sure, great. I mean, dream come true to like hear that storyline with Mark Hamill and stuff. I saw that in theaters.
Oh wow!
It had like a limited theatrical run. I saw it. And it was cool too because they had a little. Besides the movie, which is fairly short, they had like a little thing of like talking to Mark Hamill about it and stuff too, and a little feature on the music and stuff. So. Yeah. And going back, not counting this era, but I also have from the old era. I have since I have the animated series, the complete the deluxe version that also includes Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, which is a really good movie.
Yeah, I just need to go back and watch all those again. Such a great show.
It's my favorite show ever. I know people know this, but I know Orc has asked me about favorite shows before. It'd be like Batman the Animated Series, Neon Genesis Evangelion, the Daredevil show, Agatha Christie's Poirot, and something else. My favorite shows.
Now, the guy I was thinking of was Troy Baker, and he's voiced Batman in a lot of stuff, but not in that.
Yeah.
A lot of video game
he's
stuff.
He's another really prolific guy. But I can find the name for what I mean. I mean, he just does basically the same voice he did for Resident Evil because it works so well for Jason Todd.
Yeah, to get this many credits on your name, you either need to do porn or be a voice actor.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh. So Cameron paid to lose the watermark.
For StreamYard?
Yeah, I wonder how much that was. They did make an obnoxious logo, so you really want to get rid of that thing. Smart.
Yeah, it was Troy Baker.
Oh, holy shit. $220 a year.
It was Troy Baker that did the voice of Jake Muller.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so yeah, I think he's really good as Jason Todd too in the Arkham games.
So if you guys are that annoyed by the duck in the upper right corner, you can send us some money, I guess, because
you can donate.
it's going to stay there.
Yeah.
He says there's no other difference between the two options.
No. Not a huge deal then. Oh, he also did the motion capture. Good for you.
Yeah.
It's funny. I mean, I knew his name's been all over the place. He sounded different to me. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I never knew what he looked like. He definitely doesn't look like the voice he has. The Last of Us, BioShock Infinite.
I really like BioShock Infinite.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is he the main guy in that?
I believe so. Booker DeWitt.
Yeah. That's like... See, I'm not much of a fan of first-person shooters, but the main reason I like that is for two reasons that separate it from other shooters. Is I love the world and I love the story. Like, you don't really say that about a lot of first-person shooters, how good like the story is, but I love that story. It's great. I'm going to play that again sometime soon if I ever get my 2 PS3 controllers back. I sent them in to get cleaned, and the guy's had them for like 3 months. He's been waiting to get order some sort of special thing to use. I said, fine, okay, whatever. Better not cost me a fortune when he finally gets it done.
Yeah.
Because my PS3 controllers were all gunked up and they're, messing up.
Mm-hmm.
I would eventually at some point. It's hardly a priority, but, you can get, the BioShock collection for the PS4. Like, I would eventually get that, but obviously there's other games I'd rather get first.
Yeah, part 2 is probably the weakest, but there's some really good DLC.
Yeah, I have part 2 and I still haven't played it. I played, and the only reason I bought Infinite and it came with part 1 for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And cool. I understand, and it's too bad. Like, I remember reading about how like great part 1 was, like when it first came out, and I had ignored it, I guess, because I just wasn't thinking about first-person shooters. But like when I finally got to play it, I was like, wow, I can understand why like people like this so much because it was so different. Plus, it had all that cool retro stuff I like. It was like,
oh yeah,
all that cool Art Deco stuff, and
such a great job with everything. The music,
it's really scary too.
Yeah, it's so well done. It's that was I think the first game I played on the new platform, the new consoles of that era. Will that be like PS3, Xbox 360 level?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was just blown away. I loved it so much. Yeah. Really great story too.
Yeah, another really great story. Got some of that Atlas Shrugged stuff going on in it, but in a good way, because I think we're not going to get into Ayn Rand, but
yeah, there's plenty of examples when they try to do that, it doesn't work out. But
yeah,
like Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow.
Oh man, I saw that in theater.
I did too. I didn't pay for that one though.
Well, that's good. That was an awful movie. That was at a time where, like, within like a few months, I went and saw like 3 or 4 movies, and they all had Jude Law in them. Yeah. He was like in Alfie, and he was in Closer.
Yeah, Closer.
He was like, it was all like in 2004. Closer's a really good movie, but it's just too painful. I can't watch it again. It brings up too much stuff, but it is a really good movie, and it's like Natalie Portman, like looking her finest.
I think he was in Enemy at the Gates too that year. Was that him in that?
He's in that, but that's 2001.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like that movie too. That's one of my favorite World War II movies. You gotta love the accents. All the Russians speak with British accents, and the Germans speak with American accents.
Oh yeah.
So you got the risky Jude Law fighting the Kraut Ed Harris. The director just said, nobody attempt accents. It doesn't matter. I mean, no one's supposed to be speaking English anyway.
Right.
So we're already doing suspension of disbelief or whatever. So, yeah.
That is something that irritates me when the foreign, speak English in films.
I don't mind it as long as everybody speaks it. Because then I can just imagine, like, okay, it's understood they're speaking their own language. But if they actually have like bits where like the other languages come up, then that just breaks it and ruins it. It's like, so you're saying they really are speaking English. Like that's one of the things I liked about the movie Valkyrie. it's like it opens with Tom Cruise like writing in his like journal, and it's Tom Cruise speaking German. But as it goes, eventually it turns into English, and for me that suggests, okay, everybody's speaking German, but now we're going to hear it as English. I just thought that was a neat little narrative device that takes care of it pretty well.
It's a neat little narrative device that makes Americans able to watch the movie because they're not reading subtitles.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I mean, you're going to get all these like non-German actors having to speak like really good German. Like, it's one thing to do a scene. Often an actor can do a scene where they'll speak fluently. I was super impressed in the first season of Daredevil when the guy that plays Kingpin does like this really long scene speaking Mandarin. I was like, wow, that must have been hard to learn. Because I just going to go out on a limb here and say that like he couldn't speak Mandarin before he got the part. Like, it wasn't just something like he could always do. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he dabbled in Mandarin. I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah, that's a tough language. It seems tough to me. All of the Asian character languages are.
Well, I mean, yeah, especially when you get into the written stuff. But like, just even like take the written out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
What's weird to me about like the Chinese languages is just how short most of their words are.
Yeah.
Like every sentence is like 65 words with like 2 letters. Wuxia, boohoo, hama, na, yeah. You know.
It'll be a paragraph of English text.
Mm-hmm. Like, we have words that have multiple syllables, like syllable, but they really don't. They don't really do multiple syllables.
Well, cool, man. I guess we can go ahead and get off here.
Yeah, so I guess it's looking good, though. It seems like this is going to work. And we'll be able to move forward and resume the show after taking some time off.
And by the way, guys, we don't put ads on these videos for a reason. So we don't obviously make any money off of this channel, so we don't put ads on it. So you guys don't have to watch the ads, hopefully.
Yeah.
YouTube may be putting ads on there, but we don't have them enabled.
No, they never do.
But yeah. So we apologize for the watermark.
Like I said, it wouldn't be, as you said, it's just such an obnoxious watermark.
Yeah.
StreamYard is such a dumb name, too.
It is.
Already talked about it. Whatever. It enables us to do our job, so that's good. And so, yeah, I guess hopefully maybe next week we'll be able to get this going and get this up. So if people are seeing this like on YouTube right now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So it works pretty much the same way. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a matter of going live.
Yeah.
It streams directly to the channel. No problem at all.
But maybe I'm just crazy, or maybe it's the lighting where I am. But I feel like my camera looks a lot better than it's looked on previous episodes, and it's the same camera. I didn't get a new camera, so.
Let me try something real quick before we get off.
Yeah,
I'm going to switch this to high def and see.
Yeah, I put mine up to 720.
Oh, so maybe you were at high def and I wasn't.
Maybe I didn't have the option to do 720 in Google Hangouts or something. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe people watching say, "Oh, it looks the same," but to me, it looks different.
I'm getting like a feedback when I switch it. Oh no, I just have it in general now. Chernobyl. That's one show I need to watch. I've heard that's really good.
It's about the actual event?
I believe so.
Oh, yeah. I'm really interested in that stuff, too.
It just seemed odd to me that they were able to make an entire show about it.
Well, I mean, I don't really know how much it's covering, but, I mean, obviously it has very far-reaching consequences.
Right.
It just seems like it's going to go there.
An odd thing to do, like a 10-part series on. I mean, just an odd choice, but I'm not real familiar with what all went down, so. Well, cool. Thanks for bearing with us, guys, and hopefully we will be back with a show in the very near future.
Yep.
And we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, guys. Yep. Hopefully this will go smoothly, and we'll be able to start the new era on the new platform or whatever. Although it'll be basically the same. Although I like the split screen. Split screen's nice.
Cool. See you later, guys.
All right. See ya.